I cannot believe I did it again. I started recording for the second time and did not record my audio. I don't know what is going on today. Let's lock it in, all right? One thing I've noticed about this conversation of AI in music is that a lot of people outside of the music industry, even some people inside of the music industry, do not know what AutoTune is and how it works for real. There's this misconception that you take a bad singer, you give them AutoTune, and they become Mariah Carey. And that's just not how it works. AutoTune is a audio processing software that takes an input and adjusts the pitch of it to match the key that you set. Now, one of the important things you control about AutoTune is how fast it adjusts that pitch, and that's called the retune speed. When you have a really fast retune speed, that's when you get that robotic T-Pain, Juice WRLD type of sound. And when you have a slower retune speed, that's when you get a more natural curve, so the AutoTune might be less noticeable, but it's still working.
Pop out, like what's up? Let's turn it up. Hop out, Lambo trucks, you know it's us. Pop out, like what's up? Let's turn it up. Hop out, Lambo trucks, you know it's us.
As you sing into AutoTune, you can actually see what it's doing. It's registering the notes I'm singing, and it will automatically adjust those to be perfectly on pitch. How perfect that pitch is and how quickly it makes adjustments is what makes the vocal sound more or less natural. Now, if I sing a note that is completely out of the key, you're gonna hear AutoTune fighting with it a little bit more. And the way things get a little bit crazy when you try to sing completely out of key is what you might have heard sometimes at, say, a live performance where a singer seems to be fighting with the AutoTune. What's happening there is they're not singing close enough to the correct note for AutoTune to sound natural, and it sticks out. And that's a problem of its own, but it doesn't really belong in the same debate as AI music. So yes, it adjusts the pitch, and the result can be more or less natural based on the effect that you're trying to go for, but that's no different than using, say, an EQ. You can use an EQ just to adjust frequencies to make sure your source sounds clean and that it sits in the mix well, or you can use it heavily to get an effect, such as a low pass filter or a telephone effect. But what generative AI does is not take a source and adjust it or refine it based off parameters that you set to your taste. What it does is create. It's not a tool, it's not an effect, it is a service. It is something that you pay for one way or another, and you tell it what you want it to make, and then it goes and steals a bunch of music to then create the thing that you asked for. But where's the source? You're not the source. Your voice isn't the source. Your composition isn't the source. I think you have to understand that AutoTune cannot make a song. You can't do anything with AutoTune without first giving it something to process. So to compare creating a song with AI to using AutoTune on a vocal, it really is apples and oranges. They're just completely different things. They're not really similar at all. And I think that AI companies and people that are trying to push that type of slop are really just trying to hide under the stigma of AutoTune to make it seem like what they're doing is just as innocuous. At the end of the day, you can do what you want to do when it comes to making music, but remember, the creative process is all about the process, and AutoTune is a tool you can use within that process, but generating music with AI is cutting out that process altogether. And at that point, what are you really doing? But let me know what you think in the comments. Am I tripping? Am I being an old head? I think there's space for all types of creativity within the arts. I just think that there's a big difference between creating art and prompting art. Let me know what you think.